Welcome, right? Today is a very, very special class. We're going to be talking about how astrology impacts our wealth, right? And we've already kind of started. We're going to talk about the two planets that affect our wealth. I don't want to say the most because it's not the most, but it's like the hidden hitter, Saturn is going to slightly hiddenly affect your wealth, like from kind of like the puppeteer from behind the scenes. And then Venus, that is the main wealth house, right? Besides the um Besides the 10th house, your second house, which is ruled by Venus, is going to deal with possessions, things that you attract based on what you value, right? It also, the Venus sign or the Venus planet is also going to deal with love, is going to deal with romance, right? Um, which both affect your wealth, like a lot, a lot, a lot. The more romance you have in your life, the more you're going to be able to attract. We're going to get into why in a second, but the heart chakra is super, super important. That's going to be a focus of today's class as well. How the heart chakra impacts how we attract things, right? I kind of have this theory. It's not like a well developed theory, but I was thinking about it earlier. Like certain chakras project and certain chakras attract, like your root chakra, that's going to slightly project. It's going to kind of attract as well, but it's kind of like balanced because it's the foundation. But then your sacral, that's going to attract, and then your solar plexus, that's going to project. And then your heart chakra, that's going to attract. And then your throat chakra, that's going to project. You catch my drift? So, the heart chakra is going to be the main focus for today, especially because Venus deals with love. Like I said, it deals with romance. It deals with that heart chakra energy. So, we're going to be talking about that. And then he said it also ties into their energy and what elements they're tied to exactly. And that's why I love talking about the elements in this class. This class is called Elemental Assets for a reason. We talk about how each element plays into how we build wealth in the physical world, especially in different financial systems. Today, we're going to take a little bit of a break from that, but I still want y'all to have the elements in mind when we talk about this because they're super important. So, first, we're going to talk about Saturn, what Saturn represents, how it may affect you, and then we're going to talk about Venus, right? We kind of already talked about Venus already, but starting with Saturn. Saturn is the sign of restriction, right? And that's what it's notorious for. People hate Saturn. People fear Saturn, but at the end of the day, Saturn is unavoidable. I'm not gonna lie. Saturn loves you as well. Think of these energies, I think of them as intelligent energies. I don't think of them as planets. I don't think of them as people, as gods. When I'm talking about Saturn, I'm talking about an energy that manifests within all of our lives. And it manifests in your astrology chart as well, right? Saturn deals with restrictions. So whatever sign that you have, facts, we got the astrology whisperer in here, Ron Deity. So, fact check your boy, check me if I need to be checked. But like I was saying, any sign that is in your Saturn placement is going to be restricted in a way. So whatever that energy represents in your Saturn, your Saturn planet, is going to be held back. And usually it has a lot to do with childhood wounds, the way that we grew up, right? But the whole point of that is to basically ascend us over time. Like, truth be told, your Saturn energy, and I talk about this on social media a lot, but your Saturn energy is actually your superpower. That's the way I look at it because it's like you had to be held back in that way so that you could learn lessons. If you already came to the earth with that knowledge and with that integrated, you wouldn't have learned anything. Things would have been too easy. Like for me, I'm gonna give an example for me, right? My Saturn is in Cancer. So Cancer deals with intimacy, it deals with community, it deals with family, it deals with nurturing, right? It's a water sign. I did not get proper nurturing growing up. Like I got what I needed, and I'm very grateful for the way that I grew up, but my certain emotional needs did not get met, right? Now, that's funny because love is what helps me attract wealth into my life, right? I love to focus on love, especially if maybe I'm going through a transition in life. Like I need to maintain that heart chakra connection, or else everything will fall apart, right? So if love is the way that I truly manifest everything into my life, and everybody's gonna be different, but if that's me, right? If I would have came onto the earth with that integrated already, with a nurturing home, with the two-parent dynamic, with everything set already, I would not have grown. I would not have learned a damn thing because I would have already been at the top. I promise you. That's my key, right? And that's what I want to bring up the Saturn sign for y'all for so that you can find your key. What is being held back for you? Because truth be told, that's your superpower, right? Um, Everybody pull out your astrology chart if you haven't already. I mentioned that at the beginning, but we have some new people in here. Everybody pull out your astrology chart because we're going to be focusing on the Saturn placement and the Venus placement, right? We might talk a little bit about second house and 10th house as well because second house is ruled by Venus and I think 10th house is ruled by Saturn. I think. Ron, check me. But yeah, that's Saturn energy, right? If y'all want to share your Saturn sign, some of y'all already did. That's cool, but share whatever sign is in your Saturn placement because that's going to be super, super, super important in the way that you manifest, right? Super important. Saturn and Gemini. We was just talking about that. We have a few people who Saturn and Gemini here. Yahoo is Saturn and Gemini. I don't know where Yahoo went, but he's Saturn and Gemini. I think Miss Universe is Saturn and Gemini, if I remember correctly. Ron Saturn and Gemini too. What's going on, bro? What's going on? That makes a lot of sense too. That a lot of y'all are teachers. A lot of y'all are very vocal with that Saturn and Gemini placement because being multifaceted, being disciplined with your voice and what you project out into the world, that's gonna be super, super important for y'all. Super. Saturn and Aries. Oh boy. I already know what's up with you. Just some game, Chopper. Be you, bro. Don't worry about anything that anybody else is doing. To be honest, I'm not gonna say that you shouldn't be a part of a spiritual community because that's kind of stupid. But don't focus too much on what we teach you because everything that's truly going to be applicable to your life, you're gonna get it through experience. You feel me? And don't be scared to experience shit at all. Do not be scared to experience things. Venus and Taurus, me too. We got a few Venus and Tauruses in here. That's the golden placement. Venus and Libra, Venus and Taurus, that's the golden placement for real. But yeah, that's what my bad. Me too in my 11th house. Yeah. That's Saturn, right? It's gonna be a restriction, but like I said, it's really your superpower. So later when we do the activity, we're gonna figure out a way to use this hidden superpower to manifest and enrich and embellish our Venus placement, right? I love Venus. Venus is about love. Venus is about what you attract based on what you value, right? And I love to have that mentality about it because people think that your Venus sign is concrete. People think that what you attract is concrete, and it's not. It can change depending on what you value. So if you value this, you can still attract that. You feel me? And if you want to attract something different, just change what you value. But our values manifest in different ways. Maybe cognitively, maybe mentally I value something, but in my actions it doesn't show that I value that. So I'm going to attract something different, right? Venus deals with that. Venus wants you to show up authentically in your truth, being grounded, and actually manifesting and applying what you value in real time. You know what I'm saying? That's how you're going to attract everything that you want. And that's why the second house is super connected to manifestation and ownership. What you are, what you attract, how you are, how you be, basically, right? Like I said, the second house is ruled by Venus. Now you can use this, right? Whatever sign is in your Venus placement, I want you to, if you want to, put it in your, can y'all hear me? Hold on, I keep backing too far up, my bad. Whatever your Venus sign is, put it in the chat if you want to, but make sure that you have it up for the wealth activity that we're going to get into. You're going to need to know your Venus placement. But whatever sign is in your Venus is going to mimic what you attract. Now, it's not going to be set in stone. It could kind of be different. You know what I'm saying? Like if I have Venus and Taurus, right? Taurus is about, and I'm not going to say Taurus is about this, but Taurus has an energy of luxury and ease, simplicity, softness, If I don't truly value that, I don't have to stick to that. I could value whatever I want and still attract whatever I want. But I'm going to be more in my nature. I'm going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm going to be more aligned if I value softness and luxury and things like that with Taurus and Venus placement. You see, you can change what you value, but there are certain things that are going to be more aligned for you that is going to help you a lot. Things are going to super, super speed up if you align with your Venus placement. Exactly. Be more in your element, right? Somebody put their Venus sign placement in the comments, and I'll break that down just so the class gets a better understanding of how Venus can affect us in our wealth. Venus and Scorpio. Then what's up with y'all Venus and Scorpios? Awakened Star Spirit has that as well. Now, Venus and Scorpio, like I said earlier, to Awakened Star Spirit, when it comes to attraction, that's a quick attraction. You know, Scorpio kind of deals with death. It kind of deals with transformation. And I want to say things that happen spontaneously, right? You can get quick money with that placement and you can attract things super quick. So I would not focus on any type of career that's going to, you know, like nothing that's going to be salary. You know what I'm saying? Like with that Scorpio placement, you're not a salary type of person. You're a type of person, you get money on the fly. You know, Awakened Star Spirit says she does readings and whatever. She wants to do spiritual readings and spiritual work. That's kind of like getting money on the fly. Like that's fast money. And there's no insurance. You know, there's no what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think about it. But there's no security. That's the word I'm looking for. There's no security with the Venus and Scorpio placement, but you should not rely on security with the Venus and Scorpio placement. Everything comes from you in the way that you show up, right? So if you're showing up authentically, if you're being disciplined in your practice, you're going to naturally attract things super quick, right? Gigs or freelancing, exactly. That's that gigs and freelancing energy. But it could even be like somebody who does sports betting or somebody who like trades, you know what I'm saying? Like that's that Scorpio energy in Venus, right? Said Venus and Gemini in the second house. So that's a good placement actually. So Venus, like I said, Venus deals with what we attract based on what we value. You probably attract, you probably you probably value, I guess I want to say, a multifaceted nature, right? Gemini deals with the two signs, the twins, and they kind of have their hands in all the cookie jars. You kind of want to be everything. I want to say everything to everybody, but you kind of have that nature about you. You feel me? And that's easy for you to be. You feel me? Still having boundaries and shit, but the more you show up for everybody, the more you're gonna attract things into your life. That's a fact. You need to be seen. That's gonna be super important for somebody with a Venus and Gemini placement. Say guaranteed pay. Yeah, no guaranteed pay with the Scorpio and Venus. No guaranteed pay. Um, if you have an Earth sign in your Venus sign, if you have an Earth sign in your Venus planet, that's guaranteed pay. You need to have some sort of concrete guarantee, like maybe you're on a salary, maybe you get paid bi-weekly, something that is insured. You know what I'm saying? And not to say that you can't work for yourself or you can't freelance, but if you do freelance, you need to build a structure around that. Something that is super structured that will almost guarantee that you're getting paid, right? Um, with the Venus and Gemini, I would say that's an air sign. So that could be fast money as well. Like being adaptable. You know what I'm saying? That's gonna super duper help you. Being seen is gonna help you a lot. Being heard, being present is gonna help you attract everything that you want into your life. If you're not getting seen, you're not gonna be getting paid. I'm not gonna lie. But that's Venus energy, right? What we attract based off of what we value. We're gonna get into our wealth activity now. That was the lecture. Hopefully y'all have y'all Saturn and Venus placements ready. You have your understanding of what they are, because this next portion is kind of gonna be self-led. But what I am gonna do is I'm gonna let up Miss Universe to the class, to the stage, so that we can collaborate on this activity, right? We're gonna facilitate y'all road to, I want to say, we're gonna help y'all build a game plan for whatever placements that you have, so that you can use these placements to attract wealth long term. You know what I'm saying? Know your own energy so that you can apply this, right? Give me 2 minutes. All right, bet. But yeah, like I said, get out a piece of paper. If you want to, like, make it special. If you have different color pens, get like 2 color pens, one for Venus, one for Saturn. You know, make this shit special, personalize it for you. I'm finna get a manifestation journal soon, cause I'll be writing all of my stuff in like random pieces of paper, and I just have pieces of paper in my room. I need to get a journal. If you have a journal, get that journal out, right? Every time we do a wealth activity, it's gonna be in this journal. Some type of conflict happened where the same planet is in both Venus and Saturn. No, actually, that's just like double down. So if you're That is kind of conflict now that I think about it, but it's not bad conflict. You're just gonna get double blessings once your Saturn return comes, as long as you put in the work. What is the planet? Let me know the planet. I mean, what is the sign? My bad. Taurus. That's actually a blessing. I'm not gonna lie. Um, you may have struggled with, I want to say, feeling like you have means. I don't know if that's something that you struggle with, but you're supposed to have means in life. Like, I'm not gonna say you're supposed to be rich, but you're supposed to feel rich for sure. Saturn kind of holds us back in that area. So if Saturn is holding you back in Taurus, that's gonna be something that you need to work on for the next. I don't know how old you are, but until your Saturn return, you need to work on feeling abundant, right? That's gonna help you a lot. Feeling creativity, like learning to express yourself. You might have grew up wanting to be creative or seeing people do creative things, and you maybe weren't that creative. I don't know exactly what it was for you. It's different for everybody. Venus is a very I mean, my bad. Taurus and Venus are multifaceted signs, but focusing on that for you, focusing on whatever you felt like you were held back in growing up that's related to your Taurus energy, that's gonna help you, I guess, chip away at those blockages for the next, like, however many years until your Saturn return. And once your Saturn return comes, you're actually finna like get blessed. I'm not gonna lie, you're finna get double blessed, because that's the energy that you're supposed to be in, right? That's your natural energy. Welcome, Miss Universe. How we feeling today?
I'm feeling great, actually.
That's good. I felt great waking up today too. For this wealth activity, I need everybody to pull out a piece of paper. I see y'all have the notes in the paper in the comment. Thank y'all. I want you to write on your paper Venus, and then
Mm.
under it, like a few lines, probably like halfway through the paper, to be honest. Write Saturn. Saturn. So at the top it should be Venus. Halfway down it should be Saturn, right? And then once you write Venus and Saturn, I need you to write what your Saturn blockage is. So one way that Saturn is blocking you, and then another way that Saturn will bless you in the long term. So it's like usually the blockage is the blessing, right? Let's say I struggle with money because of my Saturn placement. Then I'm supposed to get money after my Saturn replacement. I'm supposed to get abundant. I'm supposed to feel wealthy, right? After my Saturn return. So your blockage is usually the blessing. If you have questions, Miss Universe is here to answer as well. Help you see the Saturn blessings, or maybe help you decipher your Venus energy as well. She is here, so ask any type of questions.
Yeah, I'll definitely do my best. So I don't know like all of the Saturn signs and exactly how it's gonna affect someone, but I can take my knowledge of the zodiac sign and the planet and how it could like be blended together, because your whole chart needs to be read for you to fully understand in what ways it's restricting you and in what ways it's offering you a blessing. So you would need to know how that sign works in your chart. In order for me to do that, I would need a lot more information, but I think just starting with the basics today is a really good start.
For surely. If y'all have any more extra questions, you could book her for a reading. I believe she does astrology and divinations. I do astrology as
Mhm.
well. So whoever you want to elaborate with, hit us up, and we will give you a full breakdown. Saturn and Gemini.
So, what I think about Saturn and Gemini is the way that you think and process information, because Gemini is the sign of processing information and learning, is not going to be fully comprehended or understood by the people around you. So you saw a lot of this growing up. I have my Saturn in Gemini, so I felt like the way that I wanted to learn more about the world was kind of inhibited by my environment. So it wasn't until that I matured, I gained blessings from my Saturn being in Gemini, because I felt restricted and blocked in my youth. But the older I get, the more that I master that Saturn energy. And that's what Saturn's about. Saturn is about maturity. So when you mature through that sign, through that energy, you receive blessings from that. It's not restricting you as much as it would if you were younger.
All right. After you write your Saturn blockages, and you can see how this may bless you once your Saturn return comes, I want you to transfer to your Venus, right? Write three different energies that belong to Venus and how they manifest in your life and how you can use that to chip away at your Saturn blockage, right? So if you struggle with hygiene because of your Saturn blockage, see three ways that Venus energy can help you get better at hygiene. You know what I'm saying? If everybody understands that, let me see the Saturn emoji in the comments. And like always, I'm gonna share mines with y'all because I want to give y'all clear cut examples, um, and really lead the class in that way. Um, Aaliyah, if you want to share yours as well, you can do that. If you don't want to, that's fine. If y'all in the comments want to share yours, like we always do, we powwow, we compare and contrast, that's perfectly fine as well.
So for me, connecting my Gemini with the Saturn energy, also my Venus is in Gemini too. So I really understand this energy. Um, Once I got older and I understood that my desire to learn and receive information was actually helping me instead of hindering me, that's when I turned it into a blessing. Because at first it seemed like my environment or my external world wasn't really ready for me. They weren't really ready for me, but it wasn't until that I was consistent and committed to learning. So my Saturn really made me committed to learning is when I was able to harmonize that energy and really understood this is what I value, connecting my Venus with my Saturn energy.
That's beautiful. I'm glad that you have that self awareness, right? This whole process takes a lot of self awareness. If you've never looked at your astrology chart, this may be difficult for you, but I want you to study your chart and relook at this later, redo this activity later so that you can understand it better. And keep doing these activities, right? We have different activities. Every week we do a different activity and then we cycle them through. So we reapproach them in 3 weeks, maybe 2 weeks, sometimes maybe we approach it in a month, right? Whatever. But I'm definitely going to bring this activity back, so you can reapproach how this whole process of Saturn placement affecting our Venus placement works, right? Because they kind of go hand in hand and it's kind of a hidden relationship. People don't really associate that. But when it comes to what you attract, you're going to attract best through feeling free, through self expression, right? If whatever Saturn is holding you back in, that's automatically going to affect your self expression. It's going to affect what you attract. And it's going to hold something back from you, right? So this is like the hidden hand, the hidden relationship. And then
I
when you're
can give
done,
one.
my bad. What's up?
Oh, you're good. I can share like from my perspective, my viewpoint, how I think these energies could work together.
Please.
So, not all of you are gonna have the same sign in your Venus and Saturn. Like me, I have both in Gemini, but learning how your Venus works, like what sign your Venus in, is gonna be really important. Because then you're gonna understand that's how you bring more of that lighthearted, love, harmonious energy into your life. Because if you have like a really rough current like transit going on with your Saturn, like for example, your Saturn return, you can go to your Venus sign or more. They call them like Ron. You probably know the word I'm thinking of, but they call them like maleficent planets and then like benevolent planets or something like that. So there's like more quote unquote positive planets and quote unquote negative planets. And Saturn is one of those heavier planets. Venus is one of those lighter planets. But depending on the connection that's being made, it can make it go either or. That's why it's so important to, like study this on your own and use your own critical thinking and things like that. And I did want to mention Jupiter really quick. So when it comes to money, like I think of Jupiter a lot too. But the thing about Jupiter, it doesn't necessarily represent money, it just represents expansion. So that expansion can go left or right. But that's just like another class for another day. We're talking about Venus and Saturn. Um, Saturn helps you refine things and it helps you make an improvement. So think of Saturn like that dad that is constantly going to remind you to to do this, and how important it is to build a like solid foundation, how important it is to dedicate time, energy, and effort to a certain cause, to a certain purpose. And by you staying connected to that love energy, that Venus energy, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to get through any harsh Saturn transits. Venus can help you with Venus and Saturn together. It can help you build a commitment around what you value. So you want to remember your value. That's going to help you show up every day and remember your goal, remember your vision when it gets really hard, when you have to repeat the same thing 5 times. That's like Saturn energy, repeating the same karmic cycle over and over again. But you can transmute and alchemize out of that karmic energy that Saturn gives off by moving more into love, remembering your values, remembering your work, your time, your energy, and your effort. And Venus and Saturn together gives marriage energy too. So just like a side note, that's a way that you can figure out like if you can be with someone long term is if y'all have really positive transits with both of your Venus and your Saturn.
That's a fact. I want to emphasize something that Aaliyah said. She talked about building a foundation. Your Saturn sign is going to force you to build a foundation in whatever energy, whatever sign is in your Saturn planet. So, you know, like I said, I'm Saturn in Cancer. I have to build actual structured systems and discipline around nurturing myself, around, showing up to family events, around being in a community. That's why I'm in here in the Discord teaching, because community is super, super important to the way that I attract, right? And especially the way that I give back to the community. So, I have to be really structured about that. That's why I always show up every Friday. I give this class. I'm always in the channels, spitting game to whoever needs it. And, some of y'all be in my DMs as well. But that's me. You know what I'm saying? See how that manifests for you, right?
Sometimes we have transits that happen with our Venus or Saturn. For example, like your natal Venus can be conjunct the current transiting Saturn. So conjuncts can make you produce more practical results in your like love life or your close relationship. So that would be a really good time to start building solid foundations in your relationships and commitment, kind of getting clear on what you want to commit to and what you don't want to commit to, because the things that you start or initiate at this time or give your resources to is really going to grow, and it usually would mean really long term. Saturn is long term energy. Saturn represents time, restriction, karma, and like that tough love from your dad kind of energy. And if you get too much in your Saturn energy, you need to balance that out with more Venus energy, which is much more feminine energy. It's much softer than Saturn. Whenever I think of Venus, I also think of I think of luxury, like I think of beauty, I think of the five senses, kind of like Taurus energy, Libra energy, and what we value, what we want to invest our money, our time, like our resources in. And depending on how your specific like if you're a Taurus and Venus, like discovered like more on your own how that operates and how you can unify those energies together to build something lasting that you value. So that's like the two main energy of Saturn and Venus blessing you together, is committing to something that you actually value, that brings you joy, that brings you harmonious energy that you wouldn't mind sticking with for the long run. And for me, that's kind of hard because Gemini is like that one sign that doesn't like to commit, kind of wants to do everything all at one time. So it's funny because it's like the way that it restricts me is also the way that it blesses me. Um, and it's really, I think I'm always kind of going to be in this juggling energy with my Gemini being in Saturn and Venus. That's just how it operates for me. So sometimes I'm going to have to really observe the way that I'm communicating, the way that I'm expressing myself, and kind of knowing when to speak and when not to speak, how much to say, what not to say, things like that. That's a lot of my energy. But also the way that I communicate is how I attract and magnetize. So Venus is that magnetic energy. That's how you magnetize things to you. So people are really drawn to me by my voice, by my words, by my expression, by my enthusiasm, my like charisma, because Gemini is a very charismatic sign. So people really are drawn to that. But when that karmic energy comes out, then they're like really, really drawn to me. That's when the Saturn energy comes through, is like, okay, what's the karmic lesson here? Um, they might see my freedom of expression and my curiosity as a like a restriction, because you can only get so far if you are working on so many things at one time. So that can be like a shadowy aspect, but it's something that I had to learn and refine throughout my life and my experience. But it can show up in my relationships when, like, someone wants more of my time, they want more of my energy. But I'm a Gemini energy, like I'm bouncing around all the time. It's not always going to be consistent. But the thing I am consistent in is probably like my inconsistency. But it works for me because I know how to use that energy properly in the right areas. So when I do come back around to something, it's actually stronger. So when I am coming back to that relationship, I come with new information, I come with insights. And that's what Gemini is all about. I was curious, I learned, I explored, and I come back, with more to offer to my relationships, more value.
That's fire. That's a fire breakdown. I never looked at it like that, especially with the like coming back aspect. I know Gemini is really fast paced, ruled by Mercury. So,
Mhm.
especially me since I'm a Gemini moon, emotionally, I like to move fast. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll be here and then if that's not give me what I feel like I need, then I'll be here. You know what I'm saying? And I move through emotions fast. Some people are they think they're bipolar, but they really just have a Gemini moon. Um and learning to ground that and be able to like settle my emotions, settle my emotional transits, and just be, I don't want to say monotone, but find a balance point. You know what I'm saying? Find a harmonization. That has been super important for me. Um, and
Mhm.
I feel like my Venus sign has a lot to do with that. You know what I'm saying? Being Venus and Taurus, emotionally, being stable. I wanted to add this onto what you were saying earlier. I low key forgot, but I remember now. Is that Venus is also about long term commitments. You know what I'm saying? Venus is a Earth energy. When we talk about Earth and elemental assets, we talked about this last week. But Earth is gonna be the element that is going long term. It kind of stands the test of time. And this is why you have to attract and keep your earth assets. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to things like gold, when it comes to things like silver, real things that hold value and are appreciating over time. But that's another class, that's another conversation. I want you to understand that concept energetically because any type of earth sign, especially Venus, or my bad, especially Taurus, um, and not Taurus, which is exalted by Venus, right? Understanding that and focusing on long term commitments, focusing on long term energy is going to be super important when it comes to decoding your Venus sign and Venus placement and how that affects your wealth building process. But if everybody's finished with the activity, I want you to put the green check mark in the comments and then we can share if y'all want to. I'm about to share mine right now. Let me see the green checks.
Oh, hey, High Lifer. I'm trying to like react to y'all's chat, but it immediately disappears when I like it. So I wonder if the chat's having like an issue. Because the last message I see is from High Lifer and no one else.
Me too. I don't know if y'all are y'all here? Are y'all here? What's up? Let me see the green checks.
It might be a chat issue. Hold on. 'Cause, 'on. 'Cause, 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 'cause,
Yeah, I think it's a chat issue because I can't. It won't let me chat. My chat. Try and chat real quick. My chat turned red.
Yeah, mine too. You might have to end it and then come back on. I know it's annoying, but yeah, it's
It's
a
all good.
Discord glitch. Cause yeah, someone just DM'd me and told me,
It's all good. Once a week, every time we do this class, some technical difficulty shit happens. It's always
yeah, it
spirit.
happens on my
It's all good. I'll
my
be right back, and then we can get to it. I'm gonna share mine's three things as far as Venus energy, um, my Taurus, Venus and Taurus energy, and ways that I can improve based on that. Right. So first and foremost, creativity. That is a Taurus energy. It's also a Venus energy too. So they go hand in hand. They go like this, right? I can be more creative and find more creative ways to nurture myself. That is super, super important for me, right? Next is love and nurturing. That kind of goes with love. With creativity. I put those together so we can skip over that one. But love and nurturing is super, super important for Saturn and Cancer people. Um, Next we have grounded and abundance mindset. I grew up with kind of a lack mindset because of the way that I grew up, and as I've broke out of that, I've been able to attract a whole bunch of more blessings and wealth into my life. So, also finding more creative and down to earth ways to stay grounded, stay disciplined, and have an abundance mindset is going to help me a lot, right? Those are three ways that my Venus energy can help my Saturn energy, right? Because they all go hand in hand. That was the lecture portion and the activity portion. I know y'all can't type. That's very unfortunate, but it is what it is. Next we're gonna move on to the wealth ritual.